impressive things about that presentation for me. I've actually taken that tour with David, and he's got so much more to say about that equipment and those spaces there. I'm amazed that he got it all in 6.5 minutes. Give it up again for David Kennedy. Our next presenter, Peter Debelak. A native Clevelander, Peter returned to Cleveland in 2009 after a 14-year jaunt away. In 2011, having been a lawyer, he took the plunge to design and make furniture full-time. He has now co-founded a community wood shop and a gallery of Cleveland-based furniture designers. Give a warm welcome to Peter Debelak.
So I want to discuss tonight a band of small discoveries, strung like pearls on a thread of curiosity, lending richness to our world. Like you said, a couple of years ago, I gave up the practice of law and began making furniture full-time. Today I'm involved in 3 entities: Soulcraft Design and Woodwork, Soulcraft Woodshop, and Soulcraft Gallery. Soulcraft Woodshop Design and Woodworks is really just my own furniture making company. I simply fell in love with using wood as a medium, as an artistic medium. The process of thinking divergently and then convergently again into implementation and creating with your hands is something that just is such an enriching process. And enjoying this process so much, a colleague of mine and I, Jim McNaughton, founded Soulcraft Woodshop. It's a general public woodworking shop, fully equipped. Public can use the space, our equipment, pick our brains for their own projects or take classes with us. We're also now home to a number of furniture designers who use the shop to build their own brands and grow their own furniture design companies. Because of the work coming out of the shop and this kind of a burgeoning furniture design scene in Cleveland generally, we teamed up with Shelley Mendenhall to launch Soulcraft Gallery. It's going to be around the corner at the 5th Street Arcade, and it'll feature work of over a dozen furniture designers from the Cleveland area. There's just a wealth of information, talent here. But tonight I want to talk about Soulcraft. What is this Soulcraft? The dictionary definition is just a particularly fulfilling work that changes someone's inner being. Which is fine, but it's a little object-oriented for me. It doesn't say anything about the way in which a manner of living that can result in this kind of work. So I'd like to discuss that by talking about John Muir. Sure, John Muir was the founder of our national parks, but I don't want to talk about John Muir of the Yosemite Valley. I want to talk about the way in which he engaged with his surroundings, regardless of the circumstances. So the John Muir before Yosemite Valley, the John Muir of the wheel factory. He was 22 years old, broke, just needed a 9-to-5. Most banal, monotonous work in a wheel factory. But he engaged with it, he studied it. And one day he went to the owner, said, shut down this place for a month. I'm going to invent a couple machines, move all these tools around, and I'll double your production. And he did it. So this manner of engagement with his surroundings, no matter how banal, I think is what eventually enabled him, not just because he was an expert naturalist, to really even change the way we relate to the natural world. It was this manner of living, this curiosity, this discovery, this interactive problem solving that could give rise to something so big ultimately. So this Muir metaphor gives us a couple elements. We have this discovery and curiosity independent of context. We have this interactive problem solving and tinkering, and this immersion that gives rise to Soulcraft. So Soulcraft is not the work itself is inherently intriguing, but a manner of living that enables fulfilling work regardless of what the context is. So this is just an example of my design process. I was experimenting with off-center turning one day, and it goes like this. You gotta wear a face shield. And I came up with what looked an awful lot like birds' legs. Simultaneously, I had this idea floating around in my head for this cabinet based on a design by James Krenov. And Mr. Krenov, he really designed his pieces around the wood he used. He took his cues from the wood itself. His furniture was really just a conduit to show off the natural beauty of the material. And so I also had this just absolutely gorgeous piece of ambrosia maple. You're going to see it in a moment, just phenomenal. And I'd pass it a million times in the shop in between other projects, and I'd stare at it, and I'd flip it in my head, and it would be horizontal, vertical. I'd slice it and book match it in my head. And so I had these 3 things coming together, and just kind of, I designed as I went, and stood and stared a lot, and what I ended up with was something really that was more of a testament to the process than the final design. Kind of a quirky cabinet, I call it my walkaway cabinet or my wobbler. And, you know, so it's this kind of interactive work that I feel like it bleeds into how I relate to every other area of my life. And it's been such an enriching process, which is why we ended up opening up the community woodshop to enable more people to do this. People of all stripes come in there, professors, auto mechanics, baristas, and they interact with each other, feed off one another. They come in with ideas, little experience, a lot of experience, and create just absolutely amazing products. And it's just a place of vibrant creative energy. One student had this just disgusting piece of metal. It was just, but he had a vision for it. And after a bunch of collaborative brainstorming, came up with this gorgeous dining table with inset mahogany. Another student had no experience in woodworking. He was a retired public servant, and he had a ton of curiosity, and he created this box in his very first attempt. So because of this wonderful work that's coming out of the shop, and what really is this, an emerging furniture design scene in the Cleveland area, we decided to open Soulcraft Gallery to showcase the work of Cleveland designers, which is on par with anything else elsewhere in the country and the world. You know, so this independent furniture movement has been growing over the last 5 years. I think best typified by the F Show. It's an annual contemporary furniture show. 5 years ago, there were 5 designers. This year, there'll be 40. And I don't think it's because there's this inherent comparative wealth of furniture talents in Cleveland. I think Cleveland is just a natural fit for furniture design, in part because of how decimated we've been. There's a wealth of industrial space that you can get on the cheap. The startup costs for starting a shop are virtually nil. A wealth of industrial salvage you've got to come to the Rust Belt to get access to and reclaim materials. And then for the pure designer, access to the proximity to the Amish, finest producers of fine craftsmanship in the world. And so this is what we want to enable with these entities. And we think working with your hands and tinkering and creative problem solving is a particularly conducive way to nurture this soul craft, this manner of living. But frankly, you know, it can be done anywhere. A wheel factory works just as well. With that, I yield back the rest of my time.